adult journey began was in Washington, D.C., because it is cutthroat. It is tough. Either you sink or you swim. And I luckily learned how to swim. And I had some great mentors, again, of various demographics. And words cannot express my thanks if you're watching. So yeah, it was Washington was it was a tough town, but I really thrived in that. Over the course, I'd say by the time I hit 30, I was bumping my head on the glass ceiling, and my mentors suggested that I go out, branch out and try consulting, build your own firm. And they would, if I build it, they will come. It's a great movie, Field of Dreams. And so, I fell in love with Vancouver when I was doing program management, traveled again throughout Asia, throughout North America, and parts of Europe. Fell in love with Vancouver and other parts of Canada. And I thought, you know what, I really think that's the next place where I want my journey to take me, because I began to find the variety of folks and the variety of cultures that lived there and thrived there. And I fell in love with it. And so when I landed, I became a dual citizen of Canada, and I started a consulting group, which lasted for about 15 years. And that was my first venture at business ownership and management. I was a cocky young guy, 30 years old, but served my clients well, and I think made some friends along the way.
And you
I was
had
in Vancouver.
top-notch
And you had.
clients. You had some top-notch
Oh,
clients.
oh,
You're
thanks, man.
very modest.
Well,
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I tell you, I think, along that subject, I've always believed in building relationships with whoever I work with. It is business, but life is just not business. We're human, we're humans talking to each other here now. We all have our shared values at some degree, and I find that whoever you work with, there will be shared degree of values. And I think that needs to be emphasized in the workplace, is that there may be a hierarchy, internal or external, or there may be consultants and bosses and supervisors, if you will. But at the end of the day, we resonate with those who we share values with. And I was lucky enough to turn my radar on. And what I mean by that is to identify other people, other businesses who had similar values as to mine, open-mindedness, willing to explore, be adventurous. Those were my core clients. And some of them still are 17, 18 years later, working with them for maybe almost 25 years now. And their family, if you will, and they know who they are. And they, I think that was a voice that guided me in success, whether it be, no pun intended, I worked for Success in Vancouver for a little while. They're a wonderful nonprofit social services agency that helps and caters to refugees and immigrants, newcomers coming into Canada. So little shout out to those guys. But, it was listening to the voice of trying to find like minds, trying to find like spirits, the similar energy, if you will. And then, that's a wide spectrum, right there. It doesn't have to be some narrow band. But realizing, people that you resonate with, and unfortunately some folks that we don't resonate with. And I think that's also an indicator of who we want to do business with, who we don't want to do business with, who we want to support politically in campaigns or spend our free time with, trying to help empower certain communities. I think by listening to that voice, that is a voice of guidance, one of maybe several. Could be the Holy Spirit for those who might be religious. It could just be common sense from your mom and your daddy telling you that, or the community, if you will. I say that tongue in cheek. So that is how I built my former company and saw success and voluntarily decided to put it to pasture. I realized at one point in time, around 2018 or so, that I was really interested in going back in-house and meeting some folks and supporting something bigger. I think there's a lot of pressure to be a leader, if you will, especially at a young age, and especially if you're walking alone. And so I think there's a lot of lessons that are being taught by business leaders, and some of them are actually very true about, it gets lonely at the top. It's important to have a network of people that you can communicate with and bounce ideas off with. I wanted to go back in-house. I wanted to try that out. And so I did find success in doing so with a number of organizations. And I certainly felt and enjoyed myself quite a bit. Most recently with, Judith, this is where you and I met and worked closely together. Very much enjoyed that entire team and truly wish them all the most success that they can gather. I also found that, whether I liked it or not, I thought my greatest strength was to go back and be a leader on my own. Go back and create something from the ground up as well. It's not criticizing other leaders and what they've built. They've done well. I mean, clearly they've done well. 8, 9 figures, good night, 10 figures at least. Nothing but success for that. But I tell you, there are folks out there who have the drive to try and to build something, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle. But I tell you, it's being true to yourself, being true to your values, and maintaining dignity, maintaining, I'd say there's some folks that criticize as an open book. So transparency in business is what I was really looking for to say. I think there's some folks that are shy about that, but I really do think that if you can own that is a strength that is almost impenetrable. It's very, very close. If you can own your integrity and work so that you can be the person you want to be, demonstrate the values you want to, and if some folks don't agree with it, then they're doing you a favor. And I tell myself this, Bruce, we talk about this all the time in our lives. Those are things we need to remind ourselves is staying true to our values, persevere, and never give up.
And purpose.
So
yeah.
that is a wide, I think, explanation of where I've been and where I'd like to be going. And it may segue into what Risk and Reach is about, but I kind of glossed over some things. So Judith,
that's all right. So wonderful, right? So I was about to mention, like, the purpose that you talked about, that radiates, like who we are radiates. So you and I haven't met. Our first interaction was through an email coming across the globe, and you can feel the person, like, I can feel Bo in that email. So, and feel the mission, feel the purpose, and feel the connection. Even though we haven't met, we haven't spoken, and it was just a cold, hey, I'm here type of email. Yeah, absolutely. And who we are radiates through what we do. For those who are watching it, and if you're a believer in that, you would know your frequency, you would know who you get along with, and you know your purpose, and you know your tribe, and your tribe will find you, and your purpose, as long as you're true to your purpose. So Bo and I met that way, and I've seen the amazing results Bo brings to the business. That is the campaigns that you've run and some of the publicity that we try to work on. And one thing that you did, Bo, which I'm really, really grateful for, is to, help me and a few other leaders get on to a specific magazine. So if you're okay, you can tell me the story.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a lot of fun. I think that protocol, that story hints at the greater capabilities that what Risk and Reach can do, as well as what I think we in the professional world should practice. So I believe it was a contact of yours decided to start a new business magazine, a nice glossy. It was very punchy with ERP information, as much as cloud statistics, who the hyperscalers are, how they're functioning, their popularity growth rates, and ANZ, if I may call it that, Australia and New Zealand, if you will. And it was exciting to see the start of a new publication and at least be referred to say, hey, talk to these folks. And so I thought, yeah, absolutely. So did some exploration as head of communications. It wasn't necessarily my title, but I managed communications globally for Lemongrass, and as well as some other things. And I noticed that there were protocols in place where they asked to submit a name and a rank position, if you will, within a company. And I thought, absolutely, Lemongrass at the time needed some love in ANZ. They've got some amazing clients doing very, very well. But that being said, what I didn't see was our team, yourself and several others, executives, EVP, they needed some more love. They need more appreciation, whether that be from internal or whether that be from the external. How about both? I love that meme. Why not both? And so I went through the process of ensuring that were more than ample enough submissions for each of those that were cited in last November's publication. It was a fair bit of legwork to do so. It was using my network, friends pulling in favors, really simple, but reaching out to the network to say, hey, you know what? These three folks really could use some kudos. You got 5 minutes to do this for me? Yeah, sure, why not? And so I think, who would do something like that? Not me, but what type of network would do something like that? Well, those are who I would call friends. Those are I'm not going to say the ride or die, but I would say those are friends that you should develop in our professions and our personal lives. Cherish them, value them, and support them when they come to you for the small, medium, large things like that. Because using that network can turn around and benefit so many people in ways we have no idea. And so, and by doing, no, we have no idea. And so by doing so, it was exercised as quite an army to make these submissions so that three members of the executive team at our former employer, if you will, got named, if not published within top 10 or top 30, if you will. I was delighted to see that happen. I was amused. Of course, it was a given that I knew all three of you would be excited, pardon me. I was amused that our efforts worked. That's the clever little boy in me that figures out, and this is who I am, and I think at a basis, I like to find ways to optimize a process, and it can be above board or below board, so to speak, as long as the rules aren't being broken too much. And so that being said, I think that mentality, if you will, is necessary in sales and business as well, is to have the street smarts as well as the 30,000-foot view of how things operate and know what rules exist, what rules can be bent, and what rules are nonsense. They may be there, but they don't need to be there. Recently, I noticed that a former employer received a wonderful award, and I was very glad to see that they did so, and that was done against the well wishes of someone that I reported to, and yet this was actually I was really happy to see that. I remember that conversation, and I thought, we're going to win this for sure. But you take the heat for doing so because protocols as such, and I respect that. But that being said, it was good to see that win as well. So follow the rules, understand what the rules are. If you can get away with breaking one, don't get caught.
Exactly.
But isn't that business? Isn't that business? I don't know.
No, it's interesting, right? So about all of this, when you look at it, there is a purpose that is achieved. So the butterfly effect, which I believe in, which we have created, or you have created, just by initiating that one small thing. So you recognize something and you put people in that positions, and you did what needed to be done to get there. And that initiated a whole ripple effect of many things that we are all celebrating. So for those individuals and for those that specific organization that we are talking about, yes, they got a lot of kudos from our work and recognition and everything else, and few individuals got recognized. And there is a bigger picture to it, the butterfly effect, that is a recognition that something small can trigger something large. And look at what you and Bruce have created, like Risk and Reach. So now let's talk about Risk and Reach. So tell us about how you guys came together. And I can see the impact that you're creating. So let's explore that more.
Yeah, absolutely. It came about the concept of Risk and Reach. I realized when you break it down, you look at it, it says R&R. What does R&R really mean? It's like it's taking a break, going on vacation. So there was a pun there in creating Risk and Reach. I thought, you know what? I want to do something that I want to enjoy. And I started it as a side project. And then, sometimes some side projects turn into really big things. They have a habit of doing so. And it was something I had in the back of my mind, was that I wanted to explore version 2 of what I created for the past 15 years. Do it right. Walking alone and being, managing that by myself and having a lot of folks that reported to me. It was, and being younger, if you will. It's a heavy burden. So I realized that if I wanted to do this again, I will not walk alone this time. And so our journeys, my time in Vancouver, off and on, I got to know first through reputation Bruce. He's also humble, and the fact that he is a nationally recognized journalist several times over. Clearly at the national and international level, as he said, he's interviewed prime ministers, including Trudeau. I'll say it several times, as well as several others. Knows him by his first name. Pardon me. I know that story. I remember that story. You guys were at the park in the parade that day. I knew him. I knew him by reputation, and it just so happened there's through, as you said, butterfly effect. There's some mutual, wonderful people in Vancouver who've gone on to do other things in technology and communications. Just happened to cross paths with them, and I thought immediately, wow, that's Bruce, and he's pretty chill. We had a beer. I think I bought you a beer, man.
Yeah.
I'm not. I think I did. I was like, hey, man, you want a beer? and we were just standing there talking during some awards ceremony in Vancouver a couple of years ago. It was for journalists in the region. I think it was top journalists in the region, and I was there, and I was just like, I found that we shared similar values very quickly, and we kept in touch. I used him as a sounding board for a number of things, and eventually I thought to myself, he'd be absolutely perfect as a business partner to bring on board and help guide some clients. I don't think we can do anything alone. It's impossible. It is impossible. So we have to choose our tribe. We have to choose our friends, our allies and associates very carefully. I believe in that.
I've got a slightly different take on that.
Pardon me,
I
man.
remember meeting both. And of course, Vancouver is a small city. And when I say that, just don't mean in terms of population.